Hey guys, happy Friday. Woo woo. We made it to Friday this week, and today is the last day of the week, the last day of reading with Mrs. Durham for a while. Next week, you are going to find me teaching grammar. I'm going to be switching out, so I can't wait to be joining you on the grammar side of things next week. But today, we are wrapping up our reading and kind of finishing it out for the week. So today will be actually kind of a shorter reading video. But today is Friday, September 25th. And if you're working with me, the only thing that you need today is your reading pages that were sent home with you. And that is pages 19 and 20. They look like this. It has some pictures of some buildings on it. And then on the back is a writing draft. So those are the only pages that you need with me today. So like I said, today is Friday, September 25th. I hope you're in the right place. So first thing that we're going to start out with is we're going to finish talking about our double consonant words. Who can remember what a double consonant is? We've been talking about it all week long. It's a word that has two of the same letters at the end, right? But how many sounds do they make? Do they make two sounds or one sound? One sound. So let's go over some last minute examples, okay? So like is. Can you say is with me? Is. It has two S's at the end, but it only makes the sound of one. So we have words like hiss, miss, kiss. Spelling word this week. Okay? They make the is sound, but they have two S's, but they only make one sound. Can you give me another example of an is word? Okay. And the last one that we're going to talk about is ill. Can you say ill with me? Ill. So we have the words like fill, will, hill, dill. Does anybody like dill pickles? Because I like dill pickles, and I think that they're so good. So that's why I included the word dill, because I like dill pickles. Can you think of any other ill words that would go kind of with the same ending with the ill? Awesome. You guys did so good with these this week, and you really got the idea that it only makes one sound, and that's all that we need. Okay, now we're going to talk about those high frequency words, or the words that we read a lot, right? So I'm just going to point to them, and I just want you to read them, okay? So we're at the end of the week, so we should be able to read these words with me now. Okay, ready? Down, out, up, very, very good. Get it? Very, very. See how that works? So we are ending out this week. We talked about the city. We talked about the country. We compared those two. We read lots of different stories. We've read the story about Alicia. We've read about the 6 kids. We've read about Where I Live At. We read Go Pip Go. We've read lots of different stories. So and we've compared the differences between those stories. So we are actually comparing texts. That's a big word, Mrs. Durham. That means you were able to take multiple stories and compare them to one another, and saw how, like, when Alicia lives in the city, how similar that was to the story that we read yesterday about how kids can walk to school in the city, or that there's big buildings in the city. Okay, we were able to compare those stories together. So that was so cool. And we were able to visualize what life would be like if we lived in another place. Like if we lived in the city, what would that look like? And you were able to kind of picture that in your mind. We also talked about bold words, and bold words are words that are kind of like they're darker and they're bigger, and they draw our attention to them because they mean something important. And usually we find them in nonfiction texts when they're talking about like vocabulary or words they want us to know. So that leads me into the page that we're going to do together. So go ahead and get your workbook out, and I want you to open it to page 19, and it looks like this. Okay? So the directions say, authors use bold print to point out words that are important. Yay, that's what we talked about, right? Yes. So look at the picture. Read the sentences. Underline the words in bold print. So what we're going to do is we are going to read the sentences. And then we're going to underline the words that are bold. And then we're going to talk a little bit about why. Okay. So the first sentence says, the city is big. What word is like bolder or like darker in that sentence? City, right? Go ahead and underline it. What does this city mean? We've talked about it all this week. The city is big. The city stands for a lot, right? It talks for like a big area with lots of buildings, lots of houses, lots of people, very noisy. The city is a big place. So that word city is important because we know what a city is now. Our second sentence says it has lots of buildings. The word buildings is bold. Can you underline the word buildings? Can you point to a picture on this page that shows a picture of buildings? Yeah, we talked about how buildings are like big places that have lots of rooms or lots of homes inside of them. So buildings is an important word. Okay, moving on to sentence number 3. This house is in the country. We already talked about the country just like we talked about the city, so underline the word country. Yesterday, we talked about how the country has more space. There's usually farms. It's pretty quiet, not as many people. And then kids play in the big yard. Yard, underline the word yard. We talked about yard yesterday too. What does yard mean? Good. A yard is like a place to play. It's grass. It's an area around your home. Can you point to the yard on that picture next door? Yeah, it's this outside part where they're kind of playing at. It's like all this part here, and that's their front yard. So do you see a front yard usually very much in the city? Not very much. The bottom question says, write your own sentence about where you live. And I want you to circle the most important word. Ooh, so that's kind of interesting. So you get to make your own sentence, but you get to decide what's the most important part of your sentence. So maybe you say, I live in the country near a farm. Maybe you would circle country. Maybe you would circle the word farm. Maybe you might say, I live in the town of Knoxville. And maybe you would circle the word town to know that it's like not a big city, but it's not the country either. So you get to choose. Go ahead and pause me there. And when you're ready to move on to our last page, we're just going to talk about a little bit of writing today. Just a little bit. But page 20 says, read the draft model. Use the questions to help you add describing details. So we talked this week about making sentences go in order and making them make sense, okay? What we're talking about here is like we want to make these sentences like juicy. So I like to say that. So like your sentence, instead of saying, the sunset was cool. Okay, that's a good sentence. It makes sense, but it's kind of plain, right? If we want to add describing details, I might say, at dusk, the sunset glowed orange and raspberry and turned the sky into like sherbet ice cream. What? Okay, that is a juicy sentence. Like there is so much detail in that sentence. Can you picture that? When I said it, I like looked out at the sky and I pictured when it's like orange and like kind of pinkish and it's just like sherbet ice cream across the sky. I could picture that in my mind, right? So describing details, like let us picture it and give us more details about it. So on this page, we're going to add more describing details. So the draft, or what they came up with, was I share a room with my sister. We have bunk beds. My bed is on top. Okay, does it make sense? Yes. Is it in order? Yes. Is it juicy? Not really. It's not very exciting. So we're going to look at some questions to see if maybe we can figure out what to add more to it. What place is he writing about? Okay, is it at your house? Is it at your grandparents' house? Are you on vacation? I don't know. What are the describing details? Okay, well, we found out that I share a room with my sister. Okay, so they share. They have bunk beds and their bed's on top, right? Okay. Number 3 says, what other describing details could you add to this writing? Well, we want to know where it's at, right? We want to know what it looks like. I want to know how he feels. What other describing details could you add to the writing? So the bottom says, now revise the draft by adding describing details to help readers picture the room in their minds. Okay, so here we go. So he just says, I share a room with my sister. We have bunk beds. My bed is on top. Does he say anything about the room or what it looks like or anything? So this is a made up story, so we can really make it how we want. But what are some details that we could add to that writing? I share a room with my sister. Is it a big room? Is it a small room? Is it like a cool room, like in a tree house? What? That would be cool. We have bunk beds. What color are the bunk beds? Could you like make your bunk bed into a tent? Does your sister have frozen bed sheets on her bed? My bed is on top. Could you say it like, my bed is so high to the ceiling, it feels like I'm in a castle, you know? So what details do you want to add for them to tell you about their room? What details do you want to? I'm going to let you choose because this is your rewriting. But what would you add if you were describing their room? What would you think their room looks like? Maybe their room looks like your room. So maybe you could kind of like make this your own and tell me, like, I share a room with my sister and like maybe my room is pink. So like I share a room with my sister. Our bedroom is pink. And we have bunk beds that are in the shape of a horse and carriage, like Cinderella, maybe. My bed is on top and I have frozen bed sheets on it. I don't know. You get to choose. But I want you to just add some more details. And of course, you have to keep the maid part in there. I share a room with my sister. I mean, we need to know what the story is about. But help give it detail. Make it juicy. Make it have more information in it when you rewrite it down here. Okay? And do you have to write lots and lots and lots? No. But can you give me just one detail that could help me picture it in my mind? Make me think, oh, wow, their room is really cool. Just like the sunset I described. I picture that in my mind. Could you find a way to make you picture this scenario of them sharing a bunk bed in your mind? What kind of detail would you need to add? Okay. Like I told you, today's reading is a little bit shorter on Fridays because we really cover so much in the beginning of the week. And we just kind of wrap it up on Fridays and finish up all of our little things, but get to talk about cool things like juicy details. So let me know if you have any questions. Let your teacher know if you have any questions. And be on the lookout for Mrs. Durham teaching grammar next week. I had such a wonderful reading week with you guys. Thank you for always being so kind, so patient, and for working hard. Because guess what? You did it. You made it to Friday. It's the weekend. I'll see you guys next week. Bye.